Going west in a covered wagon. Get along, mule, giddy up, giddy up. In spite of the danger, going through Injun country, we're going to cross the Cumberland Gap. Anyway, that was one of my favorite songs as a childhood about going west. But the reality of my life was there wasn't a lot of Native Americans or Indians that you have to worry about when you go west. There's really not a lot you have to worry about except, is it too hot? And where am I going to get my next Coca-Cola that's ice cold? Mostly what we would see are scenes that look a lot like you see here on this banknote. The tractor, and sometimes much bigger ones working in fields in tandem, doing things farm related. And that's the focus of this theme video, tractors on banknotes. Tractors are vehicles that are used in agricultural or construction for the most part, and they're usually described as farm vehicles. But you know, they also refer to the big giant trucks that pull semis and everything. They actually come from the Latin name trahere, which means to pull. And I find it fascinating that tractors pull things behind them just like a horse pulls things behind them, just like a train engine pulls things behind them. I mean, it's just fascinating to see, and you wonder if form followed function in that instance. They were first recorded used in 1896, or the phrase tractor was first used in 1896, and it was recorded and meaning an engine or vehicle for pulling wagons or plows. I grew up around Ferguson's, John Deere's, and strangely enough, oil pulls, which are an amazing beast of a machine. If you ever get a chance to see them, stop by the Ag Barn at most county fairs, state fairs, and enjoy some of these massive pieces of equipment that have historically helped bring food at an affordable price to the American table. All the videos, or all the banknotes in this video, are going to be tractors on banknotes. This first note I'm sharing with you is a 500 reals from Cambodia. Love the red, love the tractors. And just for giggles, there's a lovely Angkor Wat on this side of the banknote. Okay, moving on. This is also a Cambodian banknote, but it is a 50 reals. And this side isn't quite as imaginative as the other side. But it's still a beautiful scene, and even though it's a dock going out to a boat, you can actually see the tractors pulling loads, I guess, away from the boat. Interesting, huh? The next video is an Eritrean 20 nafka, or I'm sorry, I'm just losing my mind tonight, a 20 nafka. And I've always loved Eritrean notes when they show these tricephalic heads. And in two nations, you see a lot of triple-headed things. You sometimes see those three-headed elephants. And, wait, where do you see a three-headed elephant? I think you sometimes see them on Thai notes, but maybe Cambodian and Laotian notes. Maybe there's more countries. But then you also see these three heads on Eritrean. Maybe it's a three-headed lion you see on some Indian stuff. I don't know. That might be an interesting video to pursue. But on this 20 nafka of Eritrea, the tractor comes into place here in the background. You see the tractor here on the far right. You see a farmer. And you see another farmer here on the left using a camel pulled to the plow. So an interesting and innovative use of a tractor. We're moving to Laos, where we have a 500 kip to show off. And on this side, this ornate side and colorful side, we have water workers. We have electricity flowing through pylons. We have, looks like water canals for various uses. And going over what must be a road and some fields, you can see a couple of tractors in a field there. This side of the note shows... yeah, I think they're more honest. They're not really smiling and insanely happy, but it shows a bunch of people at work. And since it's a Laotian note, I suspect that they're either harvesting coffee or some sort of tea leaves. But here's a branch that shows little berries, so any insight on what they're harvesting would be appreciated. Here's a lovely note, and I know I have a fan in Canada who's going to be really glad to see this note. This is a 1 yuan, And it shows a lovely young lady driving a tractor. And apparently that's a specific young lady, because I've seen some news stories of a much older lady claiming that it was her on the banknote. And unfortunately, she has passed. Or I would have tried to get her to sign my banknote, because I love to have people on banknotes sign themselves on the banknote. It's happened for me several times. And if you know any celebrities that I could get a hold of and get to sign a banknote, please let me know, because this is something I'd like to keep going. Moving on to Vietnam, we have a 1 dong banknote. And it's one of the older banknotes. And when we turn it over, a lovely rendition of a tractor. In fact, the only thing that makes this not look like a tractor in the United States to me is that nice cone straw hat. I mean, we have straw hats here in America, and our farmers use them, and I had one when I was a little kid, but now the straw hat, and the only one I can find is one of these conical ones, and I get it at the Vietnamese market, and it works. I love it. But, you know, I grew up on farms that had little tiny tractors like this for small spreads, and much bigger ones that had much bigger tractors. It's just something I enjoy seeing. We're going to stay in Vietnam for a 200 dong, and Ho Chi Minh appears on this side of the note. He always had a benevolent face, and I often wondered if he wasn't at war, how he might have been. I know his people thought a lot of him, but you know, it could have been politics as well. Love to know more. But here we go. This is a little bit more exactly like the tractors I grew up with, because they had an enclosed cab, which made it less dusty, and a lot of times they had radios on the inside, and they were air conditioned, and there was room for you and, you know, at least one friend to ride around and disc the field, or, you know, do whatever other chores you needed to do on a farm. Bunch of farm workers over here. Looks like they're harvesting something, and I would assume, because the blankness alludes to water, that this may be some sort of a grain harvest, perhaps even rice, although I'm not seeing the fields flooded for a harvest over here. It might just be wheat. And up here it looks like it's plowing, so you actually see some disking going on. We're going to stay in Vietnam for a 20 dong. And this banknote also is one of my favorite series of notes from Vietnam. I should say North Vietnam, because I love the expansive use of negative areas on the banknote. It's just really nice. And this portrait over here is a stunning engraving of Ho Chi Minh. But I like it too for the fact that we have a tractor over here that has treads on them. And you know, if it's muddy or really clay-like, you know, they did use tractors that were on these kind of, they look like little tank tracks, but that looks like a tractor that's a little bit more normal there. But perhaps it's, you know, taking care of a muddy field, and I see that it's right next to a river, so it could be that that kind of locomotion required that kind of wheel wear. Here's 1,000 kwacha of Zambia. We have our chain breaker over here. We have an aardvark over here. We have a see-through window over here. Here's an offset register with a flower. Looks like we've got some maize here and a lovely tractor. Love that note. On this side, we've got a fish eagle. Somebody made the point of telling me what that was in a recent video, so I had called it a vulture, I think. But yeah, a fish eagle suits it much better. And the final video I'm going to show you with the tractor on a banknote is this 1,000 franc of the Bank of the Central African States. And on this side, I don't know if it could technically be called a tractor, but it does have that attachment that could come off and it could power something else. But on this side, it's a log worker. And on this side, not only do we have a splendid cow and farm workers, but we have a tractor in a field. And we have workers in the same field, so I don't think they're doing the same job. And I just feel like they got a lot of things together for one photograph. But what I do like about this is the lovely colors used on this banknote. Well, what do you think? Please add to my list of tractors that can be found on banknotes. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Cuss and discuss with me what's going on, what I might have gotten wrong, or add to any of the notes that I have on here that I didn't say nearly enough about. I am Benjamin. This is Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. Have a jewel of a day.